Hello friends, welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by the Guild. I am Tom Downey. You can follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage. And we start things off today for today's show with, the Marquez White arrest. So here's what happened with White as was reported yesterday. White was arrested over a road rage incident that actually came in October of 2017, and White was charged with second-degree aggravated assault with a deadly weapon because he brandished a gun at another driver. Now, according to Marquez White, he actually wasn't the aggressor in this event, and White has kind of gone on the attack here more or less and tried to clear his name in the incident. What White says happened is that he had to cut off a driver because he was merging onto the road and the other driver wouldn't allow him to come over, so it was either cut him off or go into the side of the road there. So White says the other driver yelled racial slurs at him and then threatened to kill him, all while the other driver was reaching for his glove box. At that point, Marquez White brandished his pistol. Did not point his gun, though, at the other driver. Now, there are issues with getting a hold of White from the police's perspective. Apparently, White changed his number during the season, and the police had tried to contact him in his old address in Florida. That was an issue there. Either way, White says he's innocent and has even go so far as to say as it's a personal attack on his image as well as the star referring to the Dallas Cowboys. So White thinks he's innocent, he did nothing wrong, and also said that he felt threatened for his life with that other driver who White says has a criminal past as well. So we'll wait and see what happens here with Marquez White, but either way, it's not a good sign to see yet another Cowboys player get arrested. Now, we'll take the innocent until proven guilty approach here. I think that's kind of what the general takeaway should be for now. But it's not a good situation to be if you're Marquez White. And the Cowboys knew about this in advance, and it seems that they're okay with it. They haven't cut Marquez White, so he should be able to get a chance to clear his name and return to the Cowboys. But we'll wait and see on White and keep you updated here on everything involving him as he continues to battle for the number 5 cornerback role for the Cowboys. We'll take it out to some Cowboys rumors. First up today on today's Cowboys rumors is Tank Lawrence want a 5-year deal. I'll give this one 3 stars. I think that is what he wants, but if the money's right, he could go to a 4-year or 6-year deal, kind of like ZACK ended up doing with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Lawrence gets $17 million on the franchise tag this year, and the deadline is coming up rather quickly. July 16th is when the Cowboys and Lawrence have to have a deal done, or Lawrence has to play the year out on the franchise tag. So Lawrence and that $17 million, that's an important number. It's what Olivier Vernon got in the past from the Giants, and it's worth noting that Vernon and Lawrence share the same agent, so they're going to want similar money there. The guaranteed money could be similar as well. So for Lawrence, the 5-year, $17 million, that's kind of your baseline. And of course, if you're negotiating, you always ask for more. So Lawrence's projected asking price could be around 5 years, $90 million, $54 million guaranteed. Maybe he ends up settling for the Vernon contract itself, but Tank is coming off a massive year, and he's going to want to get paid like one of the top defensive ends in the NFL, which numbers-wise, that's what he was last year. So I want to know, how much did the Cowboys pay DeMarcus Lawrence per year? Is it 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever he wants? Let me know in the comments section. I know it's a lot, but I'm down with $17 million per year. The Cowboys have been searching for a pass rusher, and DeMarcus Lawrence was that last year for the Cowboys. I'd get it done if I were them. We'll stick on the defensive line. JIHAD Ward, is he going to be a top DT in the NFL? Well, if you ask Zach Martin, yes. I'm only going to give it the 1 star, though. Zach Martin has already kind of hyped up JIHAD Ward, with Martin saying he thinks he'll be among the best defensive tackles in the NFL. And yes, Ward is a second-round pick with talent, but I also want to make note here that he's failed to live up to his potential with the Oakland Raiders. He wasn't that effective of a player with Oakland and barely played at all last year. Here's the quote from Zach Martin. It says, "I truly believe he's going to be one of the top 3 techs in the NFL. I like the optimism, but this is a dude that had 2 tackles last season. I know he was hurt for a little bit, but I think we got to pump the brakes here just a little bit. The talent is there. I believe that Rod Marinelli can get the most out of him, but I think we got to pump the brakes just a little bit there on the hype around JIHAD Ward. Don't worry, I have some praise for JIHAD Ward later on in the show. Hint, hint. All right, next up, are the Cowboys going to pass on any players in the supplemental draft? I think maybe. This is 2 stars firmly in the rumor category. You see Sam Beal there. He's the guy I want the most. Now, you probably have to spend a 3rd-round pick to get Sam Beal, but he fits the Chris Richard scheme. Now, Brian Broaddus and David Hellman of the Cowboys.com don't think Dallas will draft anyone. And there are a few DBs who could be good fits. I mentioned Sam Beal. I think Adonis Alexander would be a nice fit out of Virginia Tech, a player I've long liked. And maybe Brandon Brown, although there are some notable discipline issues on and off the field in terms of his focus. The other two guys there, Bright and Martavis, they're not going to be drafted. That linebacker ran just barely under 5 seconds and weighs 205 pounds. Built like a safety, runs like a lineman, not going to make it in the NFL. But Beal, Alexander, and Bryant are the three guys to monitor when the supplemental draft goes down tomorrow. We'll see if the Cowboys actually end up making a selection there. So let us know if you think Dallas should draft a player in the supplemental draft. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section there. I don't think it'll happen, but I wouldn't mind getting Sam Beal. I think he's going to be a good player, or even Adonis Alexander. All right, folks, challenge for you guys. Get me to 4,500 Twitter followers. We're getting real close there. Keep the followers coming. Hit me with any questions you guys have on the Cowboys. I'll be sure to respond to them. So hit me up on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney, no S, just WhatGoingDowney. Again, any questions that you have on the Cowboys or the NFL, I'll be sure to answer them. All right, time for some Earl Thomas talk, and if trade talks are quote-unquote heating up. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, The Guild. No, Earl Thomas trade talks are not heating up. This is fake news, and I'll put the rumor origin as multiple reports. So fan-sided, I think I saw a site called UPI, and others said, oh, there are multiple reports that Earl Thomas trade talks are heating up. But those multiple reports don't actually exist. There hasn't been any credible report that the trade talks are heating up. Frankly, there hasn't actually been that much change in the Earl Thomas situation. So fan-sided and others, and I got this tweeted at me quite a few times. That's why I wanted to bring it up on today's show. They're not heating up. Things haven't changed all that much. There were no reports that the trade talks were heating up. If you saw our article that said that, it simply wasn't accurate. It was the ode, oh, I saw a headline that said it, therefore multiple reports say that trade talks were heating up, even though that's not what actually happened. But what did actually happen, and we're going to go and give this one 4 stars as well for our next item here, is the Earl Thomas trade a possibility? Yes, it is. This one is 4 stars. This is what I think kind of started the heating up discussion around Earl Thomas. Brian Broaddus on 105 through the Fan said he thought it was still a possibility, and yeah, it is. This is almost a no-brainer, 4 stars for me, because I think it still very well happened. The trade is still in play. The Cowboys do want Earl Thomas. The issue is for the Cowboys, it's not really their call. You know, obviously they're not going to offer a first-round pick because that would be kind of silly to do so for a guy with 1 year left on his deal. Maybe they'll offer a second-round pick, but the ball is in the Seahawks' court. Now, Seattle can either offer an extension for Earl Thomas, which if he gets the #1 highest-paid safety, I think he'd accept, or they can take trade offers for Earl Thomas, be a second-round pick or whatever from the Dallas Cowboys. So, yeah, the Seahawks lost Cam Chancellor. Yes, they're maybe rebuilding a little bit, but they still, I think, want to keep Earl Thomas. It's a matter of if they're going to offer the big contract that he wants. If Earl Thomas hits the open market, I think he ends up being a Cowboy. But as of right now, it's still a possibility, but I'm not sure it's all that likely. And that brings us to our next item here, if an Earl Thomas trade will actually happen. I'm only going to give it the 1 star, and I get that Earl Thomas loves the Cowboys. He's a Cowboys fan. That's something that we know by now. And I get that the Cowboys have interest in Earl Thomas and that Seattle might be better off long-term by trading away an aging safety and getting a pick back in exchange. But Seattle and Earl Thomas, that's kind of where the leverage battle is right now. It's not really between the Cowboys and Earl Thomas. Yes, Earl Thomas wants to get paid in a big way, but the team is secondary. If the Seahawks, the Browns, whoever offer Earl Thomas the big contract, he'll take that. Thomas's first priority is to get paid. Anything else beyond that is a secondary concern. So, yes, Thomas wants to play for Dallas, but this is not a Kawhi Leonard situation, for example. Earl Thomas is not holding out to be traded to the Cowboys. He's holding out to get paid by Seattle. Now, if Seattle will refuse to do that, maybe that's when they'll really kind of open up the trade discussion there and move Earl Thomas for a second-round pick. But as of right now, I think it's just the 1 star. If he hits the open market, things will change, but I'm not convinced that Earl Thomas will be moved by the Seattle Seahawks at this time. I think free agency is the more likely route for the Cowboys to obtain Earl Thomas, and that comes next offseason. All right, folks, I am Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage, and subscribe to our brand new Cowboys Report YouTube channel at chatsports.com/CowboysTV. We'll take you now to the officially announced Madden 19 ratings for most, not all, the Dallas Cowboys players. So we'll have all the overall scores for the Cowboys players, and we'll position they play on Madden, so you'll see some differences based on the way we normally do things. We start things off, of course, with the bottom tier guys. Now, don't panic that LP's a 46 overall. That's what Madden does. They don't value long snappers at all. They even list them as a tight end. The Darius Jackson hive out there will not be happy. And then you got some more under the radar players who could be practice squad guys: Bryce Johnson, Joel Lanning, Jamil Showers, and so on. The next batch has some interesting players. There's Chaz Green. I know you guys don't like Chaz Green. I think you'll appreciate that. Some linebackers, Daniel Ross. And then Cooper Rush, which I found kind of interesting. A 63 overall, which is bad in Madden. And he's actually the Cowboys' third highest rated quarterback, behind one Mike White, despite Rush having the experience and being the favorite to be the Cowboys' backup. I found that one interesting, if not outright wrong. I would think that Rush would be higher than Mike White because right now, Rush is the backup, but Madden ratings do some weird things sometimes. A lot of offensive linemen here on our next batch of players: Kadeem Edwards, Joe Looney, Marcus Martin. The guards didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me because Damian Mama is also a 65 overall, which that doesn't make sense because Joe Looney, I think, is the Cowboys' top interior backup offensive lineman, yet he's behind Marcus Martin and Damian Mama. It was a bit of a confusing thing to me there. Kadeem Edwards there also at 63 overall. Bryce Johnson not going to make the roster. I would have put Looney higher. I know he doesn't play much, but he's a decent backup for the Cowboys. I think that's a little bit underselling him. Next up, Antoine Woods, Trey Williams, Marquez White, Jihad Ward, and Huff are all 67 overall. We'll make note of Jihad Ward. Now, earlier in the show, I said I didn't think Jihad Ward was going to be one of the top 3 techniques this year. But 67 overall, even I think that's way too low for Jihad Ward. The upside is there for Ward. To put him behind guys like Lewis Neal and tied with Antoine Woods, I know that Ward was not good last year for Oakland because he barely played, but he's a former second-round pick, and he worked with the starters during OTAs and minicamp. Jihad Ward at least flipped that number, at least make him a 76 overall. I think Madden, thankfully they can adjust the scores as the year goes on. They're going to change that rating, I think, early in the season. All right, folks, we are trying to get our Cowboys Report YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers. We're not that far away, only a couple more left to get there. Let's get there before the next show on Thursday. Head to chatsports.com/CowboysTV. It's got all of our great Cowboys coverage all in one spot with only Cowboys there. Again, that's chatsports.com/CowboysTV. It'll take you right into the redirect page for the subscription. Back now to our Madden 19 ratings. Cam Fleming is there, Noah Brown, and then 2 tight ends, Dalton Schultz and Rico Gathers. We'll start with Schultz, who is tied with Rico for 3rd among tight ends on the Cowboys roster. Now, I think Schultz is locked into the roster, but his role is what is unclear to me at this time. And then there's Rico, who I think is fighting for a roster spot in the preseason. Now, Rico, of course, the different point set versus Dalton Schultz. Schultz a better blocker. Rico brings you more in the passing game right now, at least potentially should bring you more in the passing game. So I found it intriguing that Rico and Schultz were tied at 69 overall in the Madden ratings. Into the 70 overall and aboves here: Cedric Wilson, Joe Thomas, Blake Jarwin, Dorrance Armstrong, and Rod Smith. Again, the tight ends will bring those up here now that we see Blake Jarwin. Spoiler alert, Jeff Swaim is the top-rated guy at 73 overall. Either way, the Madden ratings kind of confirm what I thought from the beginning. This is not a good tight end group. I think it's one of the worst in the NFL. 9 career catches among those guys. That's not going to get the job done. There's everyone's fan favorite, everyone's pet cat, Bo Scarborough, 71 overall. Dayton Jones, Justin March Lillard, and Kayvon Frazier, a pair of 3 guys that I think are actually pretty good. And we'll mention Scarborough here. The halfback ratings, of course, beyond Zeke, who we'll get to later on in the show, a little intriguing to me. I'm very surprised that Scarborough and Rod Smith are tied at 71 overall. I think it's a little high for Bo and a little too low for Rod Smith. I'm fine with Tavon being highly rated there. We'll get to him more later in the show. But I think that Rod Smith should be above Bo Scarborough because I like Bo, a great 7th-round pick, but Rod Smith is the backup without a doubt if you're not including Tavon Austin as the quote-unquote backup halfback. On to perhaps the most underrated player in the Madden 19 scores for the Cowboys. Lael Collins is a 72 overall. He's behind Damian Wilson, Jeff Swaim, Michael Gallup, who we'll get to here as well, and Deontay Thompson. Collins is a 72, tied for 23rd among right tackles in Madden 19. He's behind former Cowboy Jeremy Parnell and Andre Smith. Really? I get that Collins had some issues last year, but I've seen Andre Smith play. He's not good. To put Collins behind Smith is a total mistake. You got to bump that rating up at least 5 points. Give him the boost from playing behind the Cowboys offensive line. That is way too low for Collins. I'm typing in a yes or a 1 on this one. I think he's absolutely underrated in Madden. Frankly, it borders on disrespectful for that score. That is way, way too low. And it's not the only way too low score we're going to get on today's show. How about middle linebacker Jalen Smith here? He's a 75 overall. Anthony Brown's a 75. Connor Williams is a 76. Charles Tapper, maybe a little bit high for me. Jeff Heath, I know that's a controversial player there. I know that Jalen was limited at times last year. Had his snap count go down, but he was better as the year went on, and he's behind or tied with several different backup middle linebackers. I'm not a huge fan of that one. I think that's a little bit too low for Jalen Smith. Bump him up a few points. Have him at least be level with Leighton Vander Esch, who we'll get to here again in just a second. I'll make note of Connor Williams as well. Saw some comments on Twitter after I tweeted out about the Cowboys rookie scores in Madden 19. I'm a big fan of Sewell, considering the conductor of that hype train. Some names I know you guys all like on this list. Randy Gregory there at 76 overall. Same with Malik Collins. Xavier Woods a 77. Vander Esch a 77. And there's Taco Charlton, also a 77 overall. Let's start with Gregory here. The Cowboys' number 5 DE per Madden 19. Gregory's still awaiting the results of his reinstatement request. Only played in 2 games since 2015, but 76 overall. Madden, I just giving him a little bit of respect there. And then for Vander Esch, he is the Cowboys' top-rated rookie at 77 overall, which it makes sense. He was the Cowboys' first-round pick. He should probably be the top-rated Madden player there. He did miss minicamp and a part of OTAs with an ankle injury, but he should be a key cog for that Cowboys defense early and often. Folks, today's show is brought to you by The Guild. Visit stayguild.com and use promo code CHATSPORTS for 15% off your next stay. Kind of like a luxury Airbnb in Austin, Dallas, and more. If you're going to visit Dallas for a Cowboys game, you got to stay with The Guild. That's stayguild.com, promo code CHATSPORTS. You see T-Will on there, Jordan Lewis, Byron Jones, Tyrone Crawford, and then Coney Ealy at 79 overall, which I don't get. I think Coney Ealy is battling for a roster spot right now, and you put him at 79 overall, third among Cowboys defensive ends. He had 1 sack last season. I don't get that at all. I think that's way too high for Ealy. Hopefully he becomes that guy. He plays like that, but I think Coney Ealy is overrated in Madden 19. I don't like that at all. I think he's going to drop down as the year goes on because I don't think he's going to play a massive, massive role for the Cowboys. You saw Byron and Jordan Lewis on that list there. Here are kind of the Cowboys cornerback scores. Cheeto is number 1 at 81 overall. Byron Jones is at 80. Jordan Lewis at 79. I'll tell you what, folks. Madden does adjust the scores as the year goes on. I bet those top 3 cornerbacks all get boosts as the season continues. Some more 80 and 81 overalls here. Dan Bailey at 80. Tavon Austin, we mentioned Cheeto. Allen Hurns and Cole Beasley. I know it's a kicker, but Dan Bailey at 80 overall is just disrespectful. He's just tied for 8th among kickers. He's behind Sebastian Janikowski, who didn't play last year, and Jake Elliott, who the Bengals didn't even win. Now, Elliott's fine, but Dan Bailey is one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history. I know he had a down year. You're going to put him at 80? Come on. Get Dan up there up to 85, if not higher there. I disagree with that all the way. You saw Colin Hurns. Here are the Cowboys' top 5 wide receivers. Colin Hurns there at 81 overall. Then it's T-Will Thompson, and then Michael Gallup, who I bet you guys anything gets a big boost before the regular season starts. Some more notable players here. Dak Prescott, 82 overall. There's David Irving. Chris Jones, by the way, is second among all punters. DeMarcus Lawrence, and, of course, Zeke. We'll start with Dak. He is tied for 16th among quarterbacks, tied with Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins, but behind Alex Smith, who for some reason is ahead of Kirk Cousins, which just makes no sense to me whatsoever, but that's beside the point. But Dak tied for 16th, so do you guys think that he is a top 16 quarterback in the NFL? Give me a 1 for a yes and a 2 for a no. I think it's about right for Dak, and if he plays well, I think he'll get that top 15 bump very shortly. We'll stick with his backfield buddy, Ezekiel Elliott, tied for 3rd among halfbacks with Todd Gurley. Only Lev Bell and David Johnson are ahead of him, and that sounds about right. Now, I don't think there's much difference between Lev Bell, David Johnson, and Todd Gurley, so I'm fine with Zeke being a top 4 guy, tied for 3rd overall. I bet by the end of the year he could be a 95 if he puts up the numbers I think he's going to this season. And then your top 4 players, a bit of a separation there. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Sean Lee, and Travis Frederick. We'll start with Sean Lee here, who was 4th among linebackers in the NFL, third among non-pass rushing backers. And I'll tell you what, I am so glad to see Sean Lee get the respect he deserves. When healthy, Lee is among the best linebackers in the NFL. It's Luke Kuechly, Sean Lee, Bobby Wagner. I completely agree with the Madden 19 score here. I'm glad they gave Sean Lee the respect. Of course, I think his injury rating is not very high because he battles injuries far too often. Speaking of injuries, Tyron was hurt for a good chunk of last year, but he's still the number 2 OT in the NFL behind David Bakhtiari, and I like that fit for Tyron. So I think that's exactly where he should be there. 95 overall, a top 2 guy. When healthy, you're not going to find a better tackle in the NFL. I think that injury, though, did bop him down a little bit in the Madden score. As for the interior offensive linemen, well, the top 2 guys, Frederick and Zach Martin, 96 overall, and all is right as it should be. Frederick and Martin, as far as I'm concerned, are the 2 best interior offensive linemen in the NFL. I'm very glad to see Madden feel the same way, putting them at really tied for first ahead of DeCastro, Hudson, and Brandon Brooks. But between Smith, Frederick, and Martin, who is the Cowboys' best offensive lineman? Let me know in the comments section, folks. I will lead toward Travis Frederick. I like a center, and we'll get to this later on in the year. He's probably one of the most important Cowboys offensive linemen, or just players overall. So a quick recap here, rapid-fire style of the top ratings for each of the Cowboys players that have been announced so far. You see LP there at 46. That's just Madden not liking long snappers. Cooper Rush, too low at 63. I'm kind of surprised Joe Looney's at 64 overall. Thought he'd be a little bit higher there as well. Mike White is above Cooper Rush. That was a surprise to me. Some other guys, Damian Mama, I think is a bit too high relative to Joe Looney. Brian Price, David Wells, those guys are kind of battling for a roster spot maybe. JIHAD Ward is way too low at 67 overall. Got to be at least flipped. He's going to be a big part of the Cowboys defense, I think, this season. Cam Fleming seems a little bit low. I think that was a side effect of Leo Collins being way too low. There's Rico and Schultz. I'm surprised to see Rod Smith only at 71. Blake Jarwin going to compete for a role at tight end. Bo Scarborough, I'm surprised he's got the same score as Rod Smith. That's not what I would do. Kevon Frazier, Dayton Jones, Justin March Lillard could be key players at times on defense. Leo Collins, a snub at 72. That's at least 5 points too low, if not even potentially 10. That's an undersell for him. Jalen, I think, is too low. Glad to see Connor have a 76, although I think he'll be up higher as the year goes on. There are some big names here. Randy Gregory, Xavier Woods, Vander Esch, Taco Charlton, all in that 77-76 range. Coney Ely at 79. Doesn't make much sense to me. That's way too high for a player who didn't do all that much last season. I think Dan Bailey is way too low at 80. I think Austin, Hurns, and Beasley are all about right at 80, 81 overall. Dak 82 feels about right. He's tied for 16th. Tank and Zeke, well-deserved 90-plus overall players. And then your top 4 guys, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Sean Lee, and Travis Frederick. Frederick and Martin tied for the top interior offensive linemen. All right, folks, I am Tom Downey. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage. And if you guys missed anything, don't worry. We'll play it again here in just a second. But until Thursday, we'll see you.